Hey, and welcome back. I am here with Scott Hewlett from Multiple Calls today. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. It's really good to see you.
Too. I think we're gonna chat about expectations at work and the difference between home and work and transitioning from work to home, how that's
hmm
for the firefighter and then also for the family at home.
hmm
So let's get into it.
Okay. I was really interested to talk about the expectation difference and maybe mindset at work and when you're coming home and if it can be switched on and off. And what came to mind was I think what's unique about being a first responder, at least from my own perspective, is that I've always seen the job as my employer as allowing me to get paid to be who I am, what I already would do whether I'm a firefighter or not. And to sort of frame that, like if I never became a firefighter and I was driving along and there was an accident at the side of the road, I'm the kind of person that would stop and try to help or pass by a house fire. Obviously, I'm not just going to drive on. I'm going to stop and I'm going to help. That's just sort of in my nature. So that this reason that, we all say that we want to get into the job to help people, that's the reason we actually joined. And the reason that we love the job so much and it doesn't really feel like a job is because, like I said, you're getting paid and you're allowed to spend your working time being who you already are. And then you're given tools and training even to amplify that. And why I'm leading in with all of that is it's different than accounting, right? If I'm driving home and I'm an accountant, I'm not going to come across some random accounting that I need to do. Switching from work as a first responder to coming home and it being this expectation of being able to turn it off, it's not like over identifying and trying to be the hero at all times and the whole I have to sit with my back to the wall so I can see where the exits, like all that sort of hypervigilance stuff. If you over identify with anything, that can become detrimental. But what I'm saying is you can't really separate who I am at work from who I am at home because it's just who I am. So if there's an expectation of switching that off, we're kind of dampening down who we are. And one of the reasons I think our partners are with us is because of who we are and because they can depend on us, because they can look to us to help. And if you're at a gathering and everyone knows what you do, there's this sense of, well, if something happens, they're here and they're going to do the thing they do. So I think it's kind of unfair if there's an expectation that, well, don't be that way or who you are when you're at home when I don't want you to be like that. But if there's ever an emergency, I need you to switch it on immediately and be that person. And then when you go to work, you can turn it on, but when you go home, we're constantly trying to, dampen down who we are or switch on and off when that doesn't feel authentic. I feel authentic in who I am at home and I feel authentic in who I am at work. There's really not much of a difference. I don't put on a persona when I go to work and then put on a different persona when I get home. It's the same thing. And I think it's just the nature of the work. We're just lucky to do something that is in our very nature who we are. Like the accounting thing really sort of, brought that to the forefront for me. So I think we're doing ourselves and our spouses or partners a disservice and equally them to us if we place this kind of expectation on being able to switch on and off.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that because you're a whole person. So also, home affects work and work affects home. You
hmm
can't just switch on being a dad. Like for my husband, he can't switch off the dad portion of himself when he goes to work. He still has kids. He still worries about his kids. He still wants to be around his kids. He wants to be part of what's going on at home. And so for us as a firefighter family, I had to learn that. It was really hard for me as the spouse to understand what was going on for him until he actually said, "Yeah, I actually want to be at home with my kids and have the milestone moments. And, I miss them when I'm at work. And things at work affect me when I remember that I have kids." It really came into perspective for me as a spouse when I heard him say that because I was just like, "Oh, you love the job more than you love the family. You wanna be at work more than you wanna be at
hmm
home," kinda thing, until
hmm
he really said, "Well, this is what I'm doing at work," and then acknowledged what I was doing at home while he was at work. So while you're taking care of the kids and making the dinners and doing the dishes and, taking them to their sports games and taking them to school and dealing with all of those things, here's what I'm dealing with at work. So now we have a better understanding of each other. We see each other and we understand each other so much better.
Yeah, I think if you take how you would feel if you leave home and you go to work and where your mind is, that experience that you have of wanting to be home, always thinking about the kids, That's exactly the same thing that we're going through. And it's unfair to have a different idea that, well, when they're at work, it's fun and I'm holding down the home for it and that's more work. Like there
It's the
are,
same work.
and it can be incredibly challenging work. So, and like you said, your husband wants to be at home as well. So it's, again, it's unfair to have this idea like, oh, you go and hang out with the boys at work and I'm here suffering at home. Well, it kind of is the agreement, right? Like one of us has to be home when one of us is at work and vice versa. And one of
Mhm.
the benefits of being on a firefighter schedule is you're going to be home more often with your family than someone that would go to a 9 to 5 job. So that should almost be celebrated and appreciated versus
Mhm.
making one feel guilty for being at work. And then you're at home. And then again, you have this expectation of being a certain person when you're here and there. So it doesn't allow you to be, yeah, an authentic whole person.
Right.
Like you were saying, it's exactly the same thing. So, and in one of my mental health talks, I bring up the point of, we always say, well, when I leave work, I leave work at work, but you never hear anybody say I leave home at home. So, okay, hold on. So your home life is the thing that travels with you, but your work life doesn't. Again, you're a human being. You have a brain. You're experiencing a fluid existence. There's no switch on and off. It just is your existence. So to say one aspect of you can be turned off and the other can't, or that there's an expectation of the husband to be able to turn it off and on, but of course you can't expect your wife to turn it off and on because she cares about the family more than you care about the family. This whole thing becomes a scorecard, right? And then all it
Mhm.
does is breed a resentment. So, resentment's unmet expectations. So if you have expectations, then say what they are and let it be
Mhm.
known, and then I can tell you whether I can meet them or not. And if I can't, then we need to come up with a different agreement, right? And
Mhm.
then whatever we agree on, that needs to actually be actually what we agree on, and we need to move forward with that, as opposed to, well, I'll agree to it in words, but I won't actually agree to it in actions and feelings. So I'm very big on equality, and I hate double standards, and I'm big on justice and fairness. But what that means is there actually has to be equality and justice and
Right.
fairness and no double standards. So
Yeah.
the rules have to apply across the board. And then I think
Mhm.
everybody's able to manage. And that doesn't mean you can't share your hard day at home and he or she can't share their hard day at work. That's that's true. That needs to happen. Again, an unfair expectation if your partner comes home and they're expected to hear about your hard day, and we want to come and actually share our hard day, but that's you need to leave that at work. What are we supposed? How does that make us feel as an accepted person as a whole, right? And your
Do
partner.
y Yeah, my husband doesn't always come home and talk about things that he's done or seen at work, and,
Hmm.
I mean, we're 17 years into this thing, so he tells me a lot more now than he did before,
Hmm.
like, when we were first married,
Hmm.
because we've learned that you can't bottle that stuff up,
Yeah.
but I think he placed this really unnecessary expectation on himself that I couldn't handle it necessarily, so he didn't tell me about it, but I never said I can't handle it.
Hmm.
So, do you think that it's an expectation that's placed on them, or do you think they place it on themselves?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's cultural, and then there would be things that would be unsaid or unwritten between the two of you. So again, it comes down to a conversation. Like, have the conversation, and don't expect me to be an emotionally vulnerable person when you want me to be, and then be the stoic. Like, you can't play whatever card you want me to play at any time, and you can't be playing both sides of the card. It either we have a discussion, we know what we can share, we know how, we know time and place and tone, and we can also say, I'm not ready to listen to that right now, I need to decompress, or you need to verbalize, you need to
Mhm.
communicate. But I think the opportunity needs to be offered. So
For
if
sure.
you say,
In any relationship.
right, and then it's all just sort of a moving target. So when you say, I want you to share, through the conversations over time, you're going to, out of respect for yourself and what you actually can handle, you're going to communicate, that's a little too much. Can you not share those parts? Or is there another way you can frame that and still express what you need to feel like you've been able to get it off your chest, but without that added, because I have a hard time processing it. Is there someone else that you can talk about those parts to, like a therapist or a friend, or how can I hold space for what you need to share, or for parts of what you can share, and you can actually share the rest freely somewhere else? We have to set the rules, especially as life gets busy, and kids and sports and on and on and on and on. it just seems like it's just easier just to keep going and not take the
Mhm.
time to actually have the conversation. Or you're
Mhm.
thinking, well, they're deep in the trenches and I'm deep in the trenches and they think this and I think this and we're good and let's just keep going. And then meanwhile, there are other things going on in the background, unsaid and unmet expectations, and then resentment builds, and it's really hard to undo that mess if it gets too far away. I always think of that moment in Christmas Vacation where Clark hands the ball of Christmas lights to Russ. He's like, a little knot here, Russ. And it's funny because it's so knotted. Like, how is he ever going to undo all that? For me, visually, that's kind of like, if we let it get to this point, it's going to be unmanageable. So,
Yeah,
have
for
the
sure.
conversations up front and then let the pressure off a little bit at a time.
Yeah. 100% agree with that. Wish I had heard that, like, 16 years ago.
I think we all do. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
And I think those are the things we learn over time after we've been married for as long as we have. Like,
Mhm.
you can't, you can spend your whole lives ignoring each other or avoiding certain things and then find out 17 years down the road, oh crap, we really made a mess of that, didn't we?
The
So,
hardest thing is when you're both really overwhelmed and you both are in a state of need and neither of you have anything to give.
yeah, yeah,
And you're like, "I'm tapped and I need you to give to me." And your partner's like, "I'm tapped and I need you to give to me." So then what do we do with that? What do we do with it?
that's a good question.
Those are and then your needs aren't getting met, so then you just build resentment and then that makes it even harder to unravel
Yeah.
it all.
But I also think that there is hope in seeing each other and knowing that you're both tapped. We've kind of been tapping into this a little bit in our own relationship. Just this last year, we've had some major family problems, and we're getting through them. But both of us were just exhausted from it. Like,
Mhm.
just, I cannot, I need 10 minutes to not deal with this
Mhm.
situation. And just saying, me too, like, I know you're tired. I'm tired too. There is so much power in that. Like, just acknowledging that everybody's tired and everybody needs a break, but we're not getting one right now. There's some power in that.
Yeah. We just can't be putting that ownership and responsibility because we want to offload the bad feelings, right? And our
Yeah.
and our spouses and partners are right there and they're the easiest target. And very often they're
Mhm.
just going to take it and move on. And I think especially men are very often just going to take it and move on.
Mhm.
From personal experience, it would be like you would be thinking in your head, I really should say something about this right now because I was disrespectful or whatever. And then you think in your head, well, it's not worth it right now. Or if I bring it up now, it'll get worse. So I won't bring it up right now. So then you don't bring it up. You let some time pass. 3, 4 days go by, and then you bring it up, and then you get told you've been holding on to this for 4 days. Why didn't you tell me earlier? So or eventually enough time goes by and things go back to normal and it feels better. So then you're like, well, why bring it up now when things are good? I'll just let it go. So then the guys let it go, let it go, let it go, let it just keeps being let go until eventually that becomes too much. And rightly or wrongly in our culture, I don't think guys are allowed to be tapped. I don't think guys are allowed to have a limit. I don't think guys are allowed to say, I can't deal with this right now or have a blow up. If we have an emotional blow up or a breakdown, it's almost like it's too much to handle.
Mhm.
It's seen as
Mhm.
aggressive or it's seen as too much. I'm generalizing here. I know I'm painting with a very broad brush, but having experienced it enough that I think on the opposite end, whatever emotional outburst needs to happen, that's okay. And however it comes
Mhm.
out, it's okay. And it just needs to be accepted and you just need to move on. But I don't think guys are given that same allowance.
The world would be such a better place if people were just allowed to feel their feelings.
Yeah. And then guys have a hard time, I think, expressing being tapped because we very often, I think, feel like we have to earn love or, if we're valued and needed, that's love. So if we're in need and we need our partners, it's like our minds would think, well, how do I have any value then?
Mhm.
I'm not the person that they love because the person that they love is a person that's able to shoulder everything at all times.
Yep. That was our
So,
exact problem right there. I'm guilty because I have feelings about a situation at work and I don't think that I can talk to you about it because it might upset you or you might not be able to handle what I'm going to tell you. And then also, I feel guilty because I shouldn't feel this way.
and if you're already tapped and they love you and care about you, they're going to say, I don't want to add this on to what they're carrying. So I'll
Yeah.
just let it go.
Well,
So sometimes I think
Or
we carry more than we should, or
mhm,
maybe sometimes capable of, and then that's when we get damaged.
mhm, mhm, and then you find out for me, it was like 10 years later that he'd experienced this traumatic call that he didn't talk about, and so it had been eating at him for this whole time, and, that comes out in all kinds of different behaviors, obviously, and he was not coping well, and so it's like, well, if I had known back then we could have talked about it, and we could have gotten some help. There's a bunch of things we could have done.
Mhm,
So, no, now we're here 10 years later, and we're gonna deal with it,
mhm.
like
I think what
yeah.
firefighters don't understand is that they do need to know how to downregulate. They need to learn about upregulation and downregulation. Like, we're almost afraid if we downregulate or break or fall apart or whatever we want to call it, that we won't ever be able to upregulate again, or we're not going to be respected again. We have these fears, right? But what we don't understand is that, and I think that women are much better at this, is that they intuitively know when they express and blow up or break down that it's a release of that energy and that emotion. And that actually gives them more capacity to then manage and carry on and move forward. And firefighters definitely don't understand, I think, in general, that managing your mental health and letting the pressure valve go off in a healthy, respectful way, not in blow ups, not in throwing things, and not in an aggressive way, but finding an outlet or a way to express that, even through like somatic therapies. But if you know how to regulate and downregulate it, it makes you a better first responder. Like, you're going to have way more capacity to be the strong, tough person that you want to be, because you have so much more capacity, and you'll be able to do the thing that you love to do way longer in a way better state. So trying to white knuckle it, you're not going to make it as far as healthy as you want. So you think you're toughing it out and you're tough, but you're actually hindering yourself. And you could be a way better empathetic, compassionate father, husband, and first responder if you just knew how to release and build capacity and then upregulate and downregulate. I think that's the key right there.
But that's also just life. Women do it all the time. How many times a day do I break down? Things that men just don't do in
Well,
general.
the question is, do we not do it because we're not allowed?
I don't
And
know.
or you're not respected if you do? Like, if we broke down as regularly, would we be seen the same? Would we be as attractive? Would we be as dependable? Would we be all
Mm,
the things that you need us to be if we broke down as regularly? It's just, it's not allowed. Both partners should be able to be seen as strong, independent people, right? And as vulnerable human beings, and that a show of emotion doesn't negate the other.
I would argue that a show of emotion makes you stronger and more attractive because now we have something that we can relate about and connect on.
Self-awareness and more awareness of others, and an empathy and a compassionate heart, and seeing people as people. I think that's the key. When we genderize things like this and then really define roles, and then guys are trying to fit in what they've culturally been expected to do, and women are trying to fit in what they're culturally expected to do. It's culturally accepted to be frustrated with your husband because he doesn't do A, B, and C, but you're not allowed to be frustrated with your wife because she's, doing so much for the family. And so I think it's all this complicated noise, I think, that really distracts us from the reasons why we are attracted to each other in the beginning. And your spouse should be the safest space.
If you aren't the spouse that is the safest place, you might want to go get some help for that. Like, they should be able to come home and have this be their sanctuary, and vice versa. I should be able to come home and this is my sanctuary. This is my sanctuary. This is where I feel safe. This is where I can come and nobody has any judgments or expectations or anything about me. Like, we create it for our kids all the time, but we're not creating it for our spouse.
I think if both men and women saw a energetic release of a buildup, however that is framed for them, whatever emotion, however it comes out, I think if we saw that as, this is a healthy release of whatever is going on and this needs to come out, we need to get this out of you. And I would
Mhm.
know, I need to get this out of me. I have learned how my body needs to process stuff. And there's been some experiences that have taught my body how to do it. And now I just freely allow it to happen. And after it happens, and a light bulb, just like I think most women culturally been allowed to do, I feel better and I have more capacity. So then when you have that
Mhm.
experience, and then especially if you're with a partner that doesn't judge you for it and nothing changes, if anything, they love you more, then you just get more and more trust to allow that to happen. And now you're going to build a habit that helps you be, like you said, a better person and a better first responder. So there's a real opportunity here, I think, especially in this time and especially how hard things are these days. I think we really both need that to be able to be okay for each other.
Do you think that as we're becoming more aware of mental health in the fire service, because we are, do you think that it's gonna become more acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of be the change you want to see in the world. And again, talking about expectations, we can have the hope that it's going to change. And the only way it's going to change is that if somebody, one of us, or you or me, when a conversation comes up, you're vulnerable and open and just talk about, you can talk just with the guys at work or the guys and girls at work with how you process stuff. And just like they can learn skills and tactics from you as an experienced firefighter on the job, they can learn and they should learn very early on what the options are out there to process what you're dealing with. So I think it's good that we're not necessarily talking about stigma as much anymore. I think I, being a person that talked about it for a long time because it was something we needed to get over, what I realized is that you're never going to fully eliminate stigma about anything.
Nope.
It's always going to exist, but you can minimize it to the lowest
Mhm.
common denominator. So at that point, I think we do a disservice to the industry and to each other if we keep hammering that same point, trying to get to 100% elimination. And then
Mhm.
people start rolling their eyes at every time a mental health talk starts. It's like, "Oh, we're going to talk about stigma. Here we go." It's like, eventually you got to move on and move on to other topics and start opening up, right? Or you become more of like a droning Charlie Brown's teacher kind of sound, right?
It's
You
"Meow,
need to
meow, meow."
you need to move on from that topic. You've talked about it enough. You've let everybody know there is a shift happening. Let's move on. Let's talk about more things in the same vein of what we're talking about. But you just can't. Yeah, if you try to get to 100%, you're never going to get there.
I think to that point, it is getting better. It's improved significantly. I feel like we're still living in a 1950s model in a modern world where the woman might be out of the home working full time, and now our firefighters off working full time. And now the woman is still expected at home to be dealing with the kids and all of these things. What's the magic potion that's going to help us get to a more equal, fair home life?
One of the things I saw recently was it said, if all you have to give today is 30%, that's 100%. So getting back to capacity and being tapped out or how much are we able to give. So again, we can't do this scorecard thing where it's always got to even out 50-50, but it can't be 80-20 all the time one way. It
Mm-mm.
just can't. And the home life can't be seen as harder than the work life. We can't have that label to it. It just is what it is. And it's also what we both agreed would happen. Like, I find this frustrating too, is that both people wanted the thing. Like, if you seek each other out and you want children, and then you get them, and it's like you begrudge it. It's like,
Yeah.
are we allowed to begrudge the thing that we wanted more than life itself? Like, you finally get the life that you wanted and dreamed about for so long, and you have it, and then it switches, and you're allowed to begrudge it and be complaining about it all the time. Like just being a firefighter, if you get your dream job, it's frustrating to hear guys then complain about having their dream job. It doesn't mean you can't be frustrated on days, and you can't be not knowing how you're going to manage some days. That's not saying you can never complain, but when it becomes a habit of, it's almost like a trope, right? Like, this is just what you do when you're at this stage with the kids this age. This is what women say to each other. This is what women say to their husbands. This is what men say to their friends. This is what men say to their wives, or whatever. It doesn't matter. My point is that it becomes this like script. So if you have what you've wanted more than life itself, are you allowed to complain about it in a way where you expect other people to feel sorry for you because you're in the thing that you wanted so badly?
I would argue no.
Right.
But I would also say the system is antiquated. I don't think that it needs to be fixed for me, but I think we need to start looking at a modern home life when we're talking about changing schedules. Like 72 hours, 4 days, 5 days on duty, 24 hours a day doesn't work anymore. I mean, you need to be home with your kids at some point, right?
Hmm.
So,
Well, and I would say, to your point earlier, is that not only when you say you need to be home with your kids, and I know you're saying it in both ways, but it needs to be heard in both ways for listeners, just in case they didn't catch it, is that it's not you need to be home with your kids as in like you're away for 5 days, you need to be home with your kids.
No.
It's also this, it's that, but it's also you really need to be home with your kids because you're missing out on, I know you personally need to be home with your kids.
Yes.
That's the compassionate side of things and not just this
Mhm.
expectation of like deal with
Mhm.
work and then get home with your kids and just,
No,
get in the
it's not
trenches.
it's not, "I've been work with these kids for 5 days, now here, have the kids, I'm leaving." Like,
Yeah.
that's not it.
I'm saying, yeah, we're both in the trenches.
Yeah,
We're
we're
just
both in
in,
the trenches.
we're just in different trenches and sometimes we can't see each other.
Yeah, and how do we fix the system so that everybody gets what they need? That's my number one thing.
I think the only system you can fix is a system you have between the two of you. And then when you're hearing it from other partners or your friends, if they're still in that script mode, you can acknowledge it and go, you know what, that sounds like it's really hard, but you don't need to validate it and amplify it. It almost seem like bragging if you're with your girlfriends and they're complaining about the kids and the husband and blah blah blah, and you don't equally meet them with that, or not only do you not equally meet them with that, you say, well, actually, we're doing this, and things are amazing.
You don't wanna do that, though. Don't do that because then you're like, "Oh, wait,
That
what?"
so that right there tells you that there is a thing hanging over that conversation of an expectation of how it's supposed to go. That's a
Yeah.
cultural thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was looked at like crazy because I'm like, "No, I can't handle taking my kids to soccer." When I was a younger mom, I'm like, "I have 3 kids and my husband's not home, so we're not doing soccer." And I thought I was gonna be burned at the stake. "You don't have your kids in organized sports? What are you
Yeah.
even doing?"
Because there's this expectation if they don't do this on this day, and if vacations aren't this way, and if holidays aren't this way, and if they don't get this like scripted life, that they're not going to grow up to be good people.
Yeah. Well, and what do you mean you can't do it on your own? Well, I don't have the capacity for that. I'm working 45 hours a week as a mother, 5 days a week. They have a school, we have homework. I can't then go to soccer practice every day, and every weekend I have to go to soccer games for 3 kids.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's kids in all around the world and all different cultures that don't experience the pattern that our kids do, and they all grow up
Mhm.
fine. And why do you want to live a scripted life when you don't have to? Like, why you would
Mm-mm.
just feel like, well, I'm just going through the motions like everybody else, and you're not going to feel fulfilled. And then what are you not going to?
Mhm.
What are you going to? You're going to turn to your partner and your family and think this is the reason I'm not fulfilled, and then it's going to be where's that go?
Yes, you cannot find fulfillment in another person, you have to find that in yourself.
Yeah,
That's the moral of the story.
or within your home with what you agree on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just be
Yeah,
happy
I would
with it.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I say if you wanna stay home with your kids, stay home with your kids, make it work. If you wanna go to work, but make it work. I think you're right. We put this expectation on ourselves that we have to be everything for everybody all the time, and I did that for a really long time. No more. I do not have to be everything for everybody. I need to be everything for myself, and then I
Mhm.
can pour into other people.
Men
And
feel that they have to be everything for everybody all the time as well.
they don't.
Right.
They don't. They
Mhm.
just simply don't. Um Yeah. I think it's very equal most of the time. We just don't see it. I made a TikTok the other day that talked about this is what I was going through at home. This is what my husband was going on, what was going on at work. And once you put it into words and you put it into black and white, it's like, oh, yeah, everybody's tired. Everybody's working. Everybody has something going on. Everybody's missing the same things. They're just in different places. So,
It just is hard, and is hard for a long time, and there's no way around it. There's no easy button.
no.
So,
And quite frankly, it doesn't get easier. I don't think as we
right.
progress through the ranks, it just gets harder. I mean, I had this picture in my mind that my husband, as he progressed through rank, his schedule is going to get easier. No, guys. No, no, no. Schedule gets harder, right? They work more. They go to training more. They get the phone calls at home more.
And the
It's not
responsibility and expectation is more. Yeah.
is more. Yeah. And then the silent expectation of the spouse too. Like nobody
Mhm.
tells you what the expectations are. They're just there. You just figure it out.
And
Um
and you're supposed to, yeah, you're supposed to figure them out in real time.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
supposed to just figure it out. So it's like, okay, yeah, this was not reality. And that one hit me like a ton of bricks. When he was a captain, I was like, oh, great, we have battalion chief coming. And I thought to myself, oh, yeah, we're going to get an easier schedule. And one of the battalion chief's wives looks at me and she goes, no, that's not going to happen. And I'm like, what?
Like any job, they don't pay you more to do less.
Right? I don't know why in my mind. I guess we make up these stories and we believe them for so long. And then you get there and you're like, oh, what was I thinking?
Where I think we come to, if we lay all that on the table, the question in front of both people is, so now what?
Right.
If we realize all the things we just talked about, the question that we're left with, okay, so then now what? And that is a conversation between those two people. That's not anything you and I can say, here's the script. That just has to
Hmm.
be the two people. Either we're going to agree to so now what, or we're not going to agree to so now what. And then
Yeah.
you move forward, and that can be a moving target as well. That can adjust over time as phases and jobs and ages of kids and us, because we grow and change as people. But
I think you can't what if life. I can't what if life because who knows what the what if is. And so if you say now what when we get to the what if, then we'll be good. As long as it's us against the problem, not us against each other in the problem.
yeah, I love that. I'm glad you said that. That's super important. I think very often that guys feel like it's us against the problem. We think that we're the problem. Not to say that a guy can't be the problem. That happens, and it happens the other way too. But I think very often guys, even when they're not the problem, they very often think that they're the problem.
We say it to each other all the time. Same team.
Yeah,
Dealing with the kids, dealing with the plumbing that's leaking in the shower that we now have to remodel our whole bathroom. Like, we're on the same team here.
right.
We're experiencing life the same way.
Just to add one more thing here is that there can't be, again, with expectations, that if we want to get into gender role things, that the guy does all the typical 1950s antiquated guy things, but also does half the other things, right? It needs to
Mm-mm.
be, again, it's not a scorecard. It just needs to be, we're going to deal with what we're both good at dealing with, and they're both not labeled as less or more, and we're both working really hard. We're both trying our best. We're both imperfect. So now what?
So now we have a chore list and we're going to divide it. That's it.
That's it. And that just is what it
That's
is.
it.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, you get to cook because I don't want to cook every night. Well, this was such a good conversation. I think we need to end it on a high note.
It's always lovely to talk to you. It's been too long.
Let's have you tell everybody where to find you.
To reach out to me, the easiest way would be either through email, so multiplecalls@gmail.com, or through the IG page. So you can find Multiple Calls Podcast on IG and DM, and I'm the one that runs that. So I'm the only one that gets the messages. So, and I'm very responsive to that. And then there's the website. You can go on the website and there's like you can, go the long route and submit a question and it'll come to my email, or you can just email me directly. So those would be the three ways.
Yeah, and the website's awesome. There's so many good episodes on there. There's a
Cool.
bunch of resources. I highly recommend. Okay, thank you so much for being with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.